Welcome to the Seven Figure CEO podcast, where we talk all things marketing strategies, business systems, personal development insights, and conduct interviews with successful CEOs and entrepreneurs. Learn the exact strategies on how seven-figure CEOs market and scale their companies with your host, Chris Rodriguez.
Welcome, everybody, to the Seven Figure CEO podcast. And today we have UFC superstar, owner of Lauzon MMA, Joe Lauzon, BJJ black belt, super successful MMA academy, amazing father of two boys, and one of the few UFC fighters who's created a well-oiled machine of a martial arts academy. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we've known each other for a minute now.
Yeah,
right?
It's been a while. Probably like 2008, maybe.
Yeah,
probably.
I know you would make your way down to Tampa to train at Arroyo's gym, our mutual friend.
Yep.
And I'm just so excited to have you on the show because most people know you as this like badass UFC fighter. I mean, you've got the bloodiest fights out there, which I want to talk about a little bit later, your UFC, career, but I really want to talk about your academy because there's just not many UFC fighters who have been able to transition and really create a business out of this, career. So talk to me a little bit about the academy, how long you've been in business, how many students, what kind of classes do you have?
So when I started training when I was 16 years old, I was obsessed with jiu-jitsu. I was obsessed with grappling. I should say no-gi grappling, not jiu-jitsu, no-gi grappling.
Screw the gi.
Screw the gi. I hate the gi. I don't mind it, but it's good for the gym. Not so good for me. But like I was just doing jiu-jitsu. I was doing grappling, things like that. And then I started fighting locally just because it was just fun. It was the next way to test jiu-jitsu for me. And then I went to college. I have a computer science degree. While I was finishing.
You are a computer nerd.
Yeah.
Like, everybody needs to know Joe's a computer nerd.
So while I was finishing up my computer science degrees, I got called fight in my first UFC, which is UFC 63, just 2006. And it went well. And then, I knew at that point that, I quit my job like a year later because I was going to school, I was working, and I was training for the UFC, doing everything at once. And then I did that for like a year. And then I quit my job and then I focused on fighting for a little bit. And then I knew I wanted to start up my own gym. But my original coach, Joe Pomfret, I knew that if I went and started my own gym, I would take a lot from his gym. I would drag a lot of people, and I didn't want to do that to him. It would have hurt the gym, and I did not want that to happen. So,
Sure.
So Pomfret and I, we had a discussion. We basically rebranded what used to be called Reality Self-Defense as Lauzon MMA. So we rebranded Lauzon MMA. I became majority owner, and I've kind of dragged Joe Pomfret kicking and screaming at times along for the ride. So, but 2010, I think was when we started Lauzon MMA.
All right. So 12 years in business.
Yep.
What does the academy look like? You guys, I don't want to say recently, but kind of recently moved into a new location. How many square feet? How many mat spaces? How many students? How many coaches do you have on your roster?
So we probably have like 330 students or so, right around a little over 300. We always used to be like dominantly adults, right? We had maybe 150 students. It was probably like 30 kids and like 120, 140 adults. And then, I talk to everyone else and they always say like, kids programs are like where people make their money. Kids programs are how the schools grow and things like that. And like, it just never worked out for us. We were kind of, we weren't a fight gym, but we were kind of focused on people that wanted to fight and grapple and things like that. And we never really focused on kids. So we moved during COVID, during the height of the pandemic. We moved from a spot that was like 5,000 square feet to a spot that was 7,500 square feet. And in a much better location. So we have 2 mat spaces, probably maybe 1,500 square feet in the front and probably like 2,500 square feet in the back is like for mat space, maybe 2,000 square feet. So we get 2 mat spaces. We have a huge kids program now. Like obviously working with you, Chris, has helped us quite a bit. So we have probably, I think I have 160, 155 kids right now, between 3 age groups. We have like, we never had like a good kids program before. Like it was kind of always like, it just wasn't that well organized. And we kind of like didn't have a set curriculum, and we're doing it kind of no-gi grappling because that was what we liked doing. And, we switched it over to the gi, which is a little weird because none of us really came from a gi background. So like, we're kind of like, almost felt like imposters at first. We figured it out. But yeah, we have like 160 or so kids now. So we're just crushing it now. It runs like a well-oiled machine. We just got a lot of systems in place, and it just runs way less stressful than it used to when we just like, oh, what am I going to do today? Or what's going to go on here? Like, it just runs much more organized.
Love it. And talk to me a little bit about your coaching staff, right? Obviously you are one person, can only do so much. So What does your coaching staff look like?
So a lot of my original coaches used to kind of be like, were like our main coaches. And it's just, as time's gone on, things have just kind of shifted a little bit. But pretty much if you're a coach at my gym, you're pretty much guaranteed to be a professional fighter, like of some sort. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to be a pro fighter, but most, like 80% of my instructors, my adult instructors, are pro fighters. For my kids programs, like, so a lot of schools like to do like Storm Team. They have like a lot of like their older kids help out with the younger kids. We tried that for a little bit, but it just wasn't working as well as I want it to work. I have like really, really high expectations of how I want it to go. So I have so my Monday, Wednesday Viper group, which is my 6 and 9-year-old kids. I have like 42 kids in the class. Right. So, but I have like, when it's a lot of kids, right, that all go at the same time. I have a Monday, Wednesday group, and I have a Tuesday, Thursday group. So I have like 42 kids in that class, but I have like 8 instructors in there. Right. And what works out really, really well for us is, so I have 8 people total that help out with that group, but any given day, someone's not there. So any given day, it could be 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, so I have a lot of staff, so I have a lot of bench strength. So whenever there's like a bump in the road, someone gets caught at work, or they caught at this or they caught at that or whatever, I have plenty of people to kind of fill in and help out. And because I have 2 mat spaces, I run two groups at the same time for like the 5 o'clock hour. So I can kind of shift and I can adjust people back and forth, and kind of wherever they're needed, I can adjust, which works out nice.
Talk to me about being a dad and a coach, because I believe both of your sons have made their way to the mat. How has that been for you? And is it you're doing this regardless if you want to do it? How did that kind of come about?
So I don't like telling them they have to do it, right? I mean, there are definitely some days I'm like, hey, we have to go and do this today. They're just, they wants to go and play his Nintendo Switch. He wants to play Fortnite or something. Like, I understand. Like,
you want to play Fortnite too?
I do too. I try to tell him. I got it. So there are definitely some days where like, he's not dying to go to the gym. But he understands it's important. He understands, the more we practice. I always tell him, like, when I was little, I played baseball, and when I was in like T-ball and like, middle school, I was always on the worst team. Our team just like, we never won. We always lost. Most of the time. But there was always a team or two that they would practice the most, and they go figure they would win the most. Right. So like, when I started doing jiu-jitsu when I was 16, I remembered that. I just remembered like, hey, the more I practice, the better I'm going to get. So like, I liked I didn't have to get everyone else on a team to get together. I could just kind of focus on myself. So like, I tell Joey the same thing. It's like, I'm like, hey, look, if you do something 5 or 6 times, you might know it a little bit, but if you do it like 20 times, you'll know it a lot better. So I try to focus on like the reps and getting, more practice in. And I think it's like so important for anyone to know jiu-jitsu. I think it's like so important. You never know when some kind of physical altercation is going to happen. It's great for confidence. It's just, to me, it's like a life skill. It's swimming and there's fighting. Like, you got to go both. You have to know both.
Exactly. Awesome. So, I mean, I'm in Florida, wasn't nearly as affected as hard as you were in up north. I mean, a lot of the northern states. But I always like to ask our guests how they were affected by COVID. And, if you had to kind of sum up your game plan, I know that there were jiu-jitsu consulting companies out there telling people like, no, don't you, Zoom's never going to work, and this isn't going to work, and this isn't going to work. What did you guys do? Because clearly you got through COVID, you're out the other end, and you're thriving. So how were you guys affected, and what was your game plan to get through it?
So obviously we know historically how this was all going to play out better now. But initially, I don't think anyone really knew exactly what we were getting into. For us, for the first month, we didn't do a whole lot. They told us we were closing down for 2 weeks. We closed down for 2 weeks, told everyone, we'll be back. And then it was like another 2 weeks. And then during the second 2 weeks, I was like, we got to start doing something, So I started looking into doing Zoom classes, and we were running like almost like just, it was honestly just nice to kind of just get some FaceTime with the kids, just kind of like a little bit of a community thing. And so we're doing Zoom things, and we're doing like a lot of like neon belly with, couch cushions and stuff like that. We're doing that. And then we started looking up like how we could make dummies, so we started trying to make dummies and do things like that. So we put out like this whole video about how to make dummies and stuff like that. And then, we just kind of kept it going, and we did that for like maybe a month and a half. And then at some point in Massachusetts, like they let us go back to being open. We had like a 2-week period where we were allowed to be open, and we were fine. And then they came out with a cohort thing where, okay, you have to have cohorts. You can't have a cohort of more than 10. So like I tried to, like, it was kind of like, oh, maybe we're past this a little bit. And then I was like, oh no, cohorts of 10. The problem with that is like everyone's schedule is a little different, right? So getting 10 people that have the exact same schedule that are good training partners for each other and that, make sense was really, really difficult. So like we had to finesse the rules a little bit. Like we followed like 95% of what we're supposed to do. But I did groups of like, say 20. So if I did a group of 20, then you'd end up having 10 that would show up, and it kind of worked out like that. So like we followed like most of what was going on, but it was hard because there were these other gyms that had like just started up nearby, and they're just like, they're just telling everyone, oh, you come train for free, come with us. We're training here 100%. So it's kind of like, we're trying to do the right thing, and we're trying to follow as best we can and do what's best for everybody. And then like all of our competition is like, they're just having full on classes, and like they're doing Instagram lives, and they're posting about it openly and freely, and just like, so it's kind of crappy there. But we got through it, we had cohorts for a little bit, and we had to do like, we could have cohorts and they were together, and then we had to have people be apart. We had to be like socially distanced, and we had to basically work out with grappling dummies, and that was it. And then we went back to the cohorts where we could actually train together. But again, it was a huge pain in the butt trying to manage the cohorts. I think in the long run, it kind of helped us a little bit because it got us to kind of segment our kids a little bit, like our kids programs a little bit. So I have like a Monday, Wednesday group and a Tuesday, Thursday group now. And we kind of manage all that. And it got me to really kind of level up like the business side of things for me. Like, I have like this whole system. We do like attendance cards and mail merge and all this other stuff. And it works. It really makes our business run so much better now. But again, it was just, we had this problem. We had to deal with it. We figured out a solution, and that helped us grow long-term.
I even remember you were doing outdoor classes, having to lug mats outside and tents and wave masters. Talk a little bit about, that.
So our gym was like right before COVID happened. Our gym we're kind of getting kind of too big for it. It was kind of looking to grow it a little bit. And we started looking around for other spots, and then COVID happened. We're like, oh, thank God we didn't go to that bigger space. And then as things started opening up and relaxing, we had like a very big parking lot, and there was only one way into the parking lot. Right. So I basically got a desk, and I basically blocked it off so no cars could drive into the parking lot. And I bought a couple big canopies, and like big steel tubing, like basically carports. I bought like a couple of those and tried setting those up. And we had I bought all kinds of extra puzzle mats, and I bought grappling dummies, and I bought I think 15 wave masters, and I bought a bunch of kids like the little Bobby the Bully wave master things, and so we set those up, and we would basically have to bring them in and out every single day. So I had this entire process of my staff and my instructors we'd show up in the beginning of the morning. We'd take all the puzzle mats out. We'd set them all up in 6 foot by 6 foot sections with a 6 foot stick. We'd make sure we had 6 feet to the next section, and it basically a big checkerboard of mats. And we'd have a dummy on each one. And we'd have we would, at the end of the class, we'd run a 45-minute class. Then we'd run around. We'd spray all the dummies. They'd all wipe them down, sanitize them. They would leave. Next class would come in. And then work like that. And we do the same thing kickboxing. We'd have all the wave masters, we spread them all out. And it worked out well for us because it was during summertime. When that all worked, it was in summertime. And then it started to get be August, around this time of year. And I started thinking oh, what are we gonna do when it gets cold? I'm now I'm I'm freaking out a little bit. I'm what am I gonna do? This is working for right now, but if we can't go inside, and we can't space to the same extent inside that we can outside. We have a very, very big parking lot. I can afford to space out. So a little sketchy. So I started looking around for spots, and then things started getting a little more relaxed on what we could do. It's maybe we'll be fine where we are. I think we're going to be okay where we are. And then the landlord comes to us and says, hey, I got to get you guys out of here. I'm what do you mean we got to get out of here? He's he had a sign company, and his sign company, his competition basically was they did a lot of college campuses and things like that. And they were going to go under. So he was basically absorbing, and he got a really good deal to kind of buy them. So he's I hate to do this, you guys, but I need the space back.
He's got to put it somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we at that point we looked around. I found a great spot, bigger space than I had. So like we got a way bigger space. We went from like just under 5,000 square feet to like 7,500 square feet during the pandemic. Really, really bad time to be moving and upgrading and getting a bigger space. But it's worked out great for us. I have a ton of people that helped out and, got us ready, and we got everything moved over, and just, it all worked out great.
I love it. So let's shift gears a little bit, and I love marketing, obviously. When you first started the academy, it was predominantly more geared towards adults and fighters. And then that kind of shifted. Your target market is, out now, also kids. And you're running these little 4-year-old kids classes, which I just think is so cool. What makes you different than all of the other MMA schools? Like, what is the unique selling position? Because I think that, what you've created is really, really special there.
So I think that the big thing that sets me apart from everyone else is like, people have seen me fight. They've seen me fight like a savage, bleeding all over the place, leaving everywhere, knocking people out, submitting people, getting beat up sometimes, but coming back and fighting and everything like that. So like, I've had like 26 fights in the UFC or something. Like, I've had a lot of fights. But on top of that, I get the computer science brain, right? So like, I have a bachelor's in computer science. So like, I'm good at kind of organizing things and setting up processes and understanding like I got good at jiu-jitsu because I wanted to know, okay, like when we do the paintbrush, why do we do this part? And why do we do this part? And why do, like, I needed to know exactly, like, in my brain, I had to justify every single detail on why we did every single thing. And obviously, as you get better at things, like you start, taking things away, adding things, doing things slightly different than you originally taught. And for me, I do the same thing with my gym. Right. It's like what, sometimes like you give me advice and it's awesome. It's a home run for us. Other times, there's been times like you like one thing because it's just, that's what works well for your school and your culture. And maybe it's not the best fit for us, but that's okay, because I get exposed to you telling me, it makes me think, oh, maybe I think of something a little different next time, or doing like a slight variation. But I think that between like, people seeing me and then me backing it up. It's not like it's, some jiu-jitsu school down the street that they have like, they have people that have never competed. No one knows anything, that there's no credibility there, versus me, who's like submitting black belts on television and smashing people and stuff like that. And like I'm pretty sure they want to send their kids to me before they want to send their kids to some guy down the street that no one's ever heard of. I focus on, honestly, I have like basically a media crew that like, they do photos for me every single week. They do video projects for me every week. Like they do, they kind of do stuff like that, and they knock it out of the park, and because I have like, I have all these professional fighters that are there training, and we get photos of them, but we also get photos of like this dad of 3 or this mom or whoever else that's like working on the mat with them at the same time. And they, we get good photos of everybody. We watermark them, we post them on our Facebook groups. And then of course, like we encourage people, hey, take the photos, you can save them, repost them, reshare them. It's just, it's like, we got like this mom that's got like 3 kids and she trains with us. And then next thing you know, she's posting photos of like, and her friends like, oh, your kids do that? Where do they do that? I want my kids to do that. That's so cool. Or we get little kids looking awesome in their little gis when they do like a belt promotion. And like, oh, Johnny does this. I want my kid to do that too. So it's just, that's kind of been our marketing approach. And I have like a really good name in New England. So that helps us out too. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, if anybody needs to see any inspiration in terms of organic social media marketing, I mean, definitely follow their academy page, because you guys just take it to another level, which I love seeing.
Who doesn't want to see photos of themselves training? Sure. Of course, everyone does. Like it's, you hit like an awesome like foot sweep or a hip toss or an arm lock, or you're on someone's back. It's just like you capture really, really cool photos organically. And we just consistently, we bang out photos every week, and, we eventually get everyone.
Love it. Let's kind of shift gears a little bit. You got a lot of hats that you're wearing. How are you able to kind of split your time between owner Joe and coach Joe? Because you have a lot of up and coming MMA fighters. How do you do that?
Honestly, I do a lot of time blocking. Like it's something else I got from you. I got my schedule here. I plan it out, like I have a Google Doc, usually has like most of the important things, or like things that are further out. But like on Sunday, I go in and figure out exactly what I'm going to do for the entire week. And I just I kind of plan it out, and I come up with like my things that have to happen, my priorities. And, it's, for me, it's like a lot of like my gym owner stuff is a little bit more flexible. We do like a level 10 meeting on Thursdays, but that time can vary a little bit. But for the most part, like the times that I have to hit, I teach my Monday, Wednesday, Friday day class. I teach a 10 and 11 a.m. class. And then on Monday, Wednesday, I teach my kids class at 5 o'clock. My son Joey's in the class. So I teach those classes. So I'd have to bring him there anyways. I'm there anyways. I spend like maybe 45 minutes after his class, half hour to 45 minutes after his class to kind of just touch base with the front desk and kind of be around and, kind of like, interact with the parents. And then I'm out of there. After that, my time is completely flexible. So I'm able to kind of, my wife is a nurse, so she's on like a rotating schedule. It's like kind of irregular. So my classes happen, and then based on her schedule, I fill in all of my schedule there. But I just time blocking is like the big thing. Just, making sure I plan out exactly what I have to do. And making sure like I would love to sit around and play video games and watch Netflix and all kinds of stuff like that all day, but it's just, I can't, I know I can't, like, I know I'll have time to do any of that stuff. But I went from like leveling up in video games, like, maybe I should level up my life and my gym, cause like I'm that guy that like I'll play one video game to death and I try to like basically like, maximize everything I can every which way. And I almost like make the game not fun because of how much I overload everything. I'm like, I should do this with my life. I should do this with my gym. I should make this like on autopilot and like cheat codes. And so that's what I try to do.
You're on an island. You can only pick one game. What game is it?
Hard. Probably Grand Theft Auto 5. Really? Yeah. Okay. I mean, cause if I'm on an island, I can't play with anybody, right? I'm probably on my own.
That's true.
I guess I need the service, but I don't know. I've been playing a ton of Tiny Tina Wonderlands lately. Just fun. It's like Borderlands knockoff. It's good. I don't know. Call of Duty.
Okay. So as a coach,
What's your game? Destiny?
WoW. No, WoW. Yeah, but
that's a life suck.
It is. I played a lot in college. You can, go in and look at how many days.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
You do. Yes. So I don't play anymore, but I had a little stint with Destiny as well. And, it was funny. I have some stepsons that, were teenagers when we were playing and stuff. And I felt so bad because I was so bad at the game, but they would let me in with their groups and their friends, and they'd have to like say, yo, that's my stepmom. Sorry. It was just funny. But yeah, Destiny or WoW, I guess would be the answers.
Did you kind of have the same kind of personality? Did you try to like maximize everything and level things up like I did? Because to me, it was an easy transfer to go from the game that you did. You just, no,
I'm not very good. So
I got you.
Yeah. So
I would still play Destiny with you. I would carry you. Don't you worry, Chris.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
What class did you play?
Oh my gosh.
Warlock or
no Warlock. Yeah, because that was the same in WoW as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Orc shaman. Well, shaman, I guess, in WoW. That
was got you. All right.
So as a coach, you, I am sure, have come across a lot of people that have aspirations to do what you do. What would you say are, some of the top skills, characteristics that really separate the fighters that are going to make it versus the ones that aren't?
The big thing that I think is important is I try to crush their hopes and dreams right off the bat, right? Which is like, it sounds bad, but it's like, it's important. I always tell them like, look, I went to school, I was finishing up school, I was working, I was training for the UFC, right? It worked out for me. It worked out really, really well for me, like, with the UFC, right? But that's not how it goes for most people, right? So I tell them, okay, like, I want you to pursue, I want you to put everything into fighting, but at the same time, I want you to have something else that's going on in the back end, because fighting is not going to be like a full-time thing. Like even getting the UFC, getting whatever, like, it's like, you need to kind of, you need to manage multiple things. Like if you say, oh, all I can do is train and all I can do is fight, I can promise you're not going to be successful, because you don't have what it takes if that's all your capacity is, right? So you have to be able to do multiple things. If you can handle multiple things, then you can train. Like if you're fighting at a local show, you don't need to quit your job and be training 100% of the time. Like it's you need to be able to handle more than just that one thing. So it's people always kind of look at me and like kind of turn their head sideways and but I think it's true. I think there's
you're being a realist.
Yeah, I think that there's too many people. I've had tons of guys that have fought in the UFC in my gym, right? And I was there before any of them, and I'm still going after them, right? Just because I think I was a little bit lucky. I think just the timing of it all worked out a little bit better for me. And I still have my gym going and I still do this and still finished up college and I did all that kind of stuff. Like there's no excuse. I have no sympathy for anyone that says, oh, I don't have the time.
Sure.
It's like, I don't believe it. Like, I think, maybe it's like, maybe you don't have the time because you went out drinking on Thursday and Friday night. And now, okay, yeah, now you feel like crap on Friday morning, you feel like crap on Saturday. Like, it's like, okay, I don't have any sympathy for you. Like, if you make it a priority, like I think sleep is really, really important, but sometimes you got to sacrifice a little bit of sleep to get the other stuff done, and in the beginning, like, I don't think that you need to be 100% focused on, oh, all I do is train when you're an amateur fighter and you've never even fought pro. And I understand you might have aspirations to get to the UFC, but you can't think that, oh, this is all I'm going to do. And I'm going to dedicate the next 5 years for this, because if it doesn't work out, you've wasted 5 years. You're 30 years old, starting where, you hope to be at 25. It's just hard.
What are you kind of seeing the length of time that it takes from somebody coming to you to being able to make it to that level?
I mean, it takes a while, right? Because I think if someone had no experience at all, they're probably talking like maybe 3 years before you're fighting amateur. And then you're amateur for maybe 2-3 years before you have your first pro fight. So now you're 6 years in. And now you're maybe your first couple of pro fights. It maybe take you another 2 to 3 years. So you could be 8 or 9 years in from no experience to, being thinking about maybe getting a shot in the UFC or something like that, being super serious. And that's if everything goes perfect for you. Right. That's like, okay, like you go like, 4.
No injuries.
Yeah. It's like, you know what I mean? Like I tore my ACL and I was out for a year. You know what I mean? That could happen to anybody, so it's like, if things go smooth and they don't have a lot of experience, you're talking like probably 8 or 9 years before you're getting close to the UFC. It's just, it's hard. You know what I mean? And it's like, so now if you were 20 years old and you start doing that, now you're 28 and it doesn't work out. Okay. Well, you're kind of, getting a job at 28 is fine. But getting that job at 20 years old is way better. It's like, you wasted 8 years, and the time wasn't wasted, but like, as far as like, professionally, it's kind of wasted a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like, getting a job, same thing. Like if you're 30 years old and you're getting a job that someone could have gotten when they were right out of high school, it's good, but is that really where you want to start? You want to start 10 years later? You'd rather start right away.
Yeah. I love the realism aspect of it. And, I definitely admire that. Talk to me a little bit about kind of next stage, next level with your fight career and what where you see the academy going and your team.
So I think I'm at the point now where like, so I've been for like the last like 4 years, I've been really focused on like trying to grow the gym and get the gym to kind of be like, run like a well-oiled machine. And it does great now. Like I was supposed to fight Cowboy Cerrone a couple months ago. It didn't work out twice, 3 times if you want to think about it. But for like 6 months, my gym was pretty much on autopilot, right? Like I ran most of my classes, but I still took some of those classes off and had other people cover it. But the gym just kept chugging right along, right? The gym would have done better if I was around a little bit more. But I wasn't there for like the most part for 6 months. I wasn't doing a lot of like the business owner stuff, and it just kept chugging right along because we had good systems in place. I had good staff. Everything was awesome. Now I'm back to kind of trying to be the business owner thing. So like, I think within probably 8 or 9 months, I'll open up a second location very close nearby. I'm talking like 5-6 miles away, like close by.
You mean the smart way to do it?
Yeah. And then I'll focus on kids. I'm going to set up the entire schedule around kids. And if I have room for adults afterwards, then I will do that. But I'm going to set up entirely on kids, do a much smaller gym than I have now. Because like adults need showers, they need locker. Like I have like, my gym is nice. We have 7,500 square feet, but I have 5 showers there. I have 4 bathrooms. I've got 2 good sized locker rooms. I have like a staff and lounge area. I have a big front desk. I have like a pro shop kind of like, I have like a good amount of space. Because like adults need a lot of that stuff. Adults need big locker rooms. Adults need showers. Adults need the stuff. Like if I focus on kids, I can do a much smaller location. And it would be much more profitable overall. And it'd be way less stress, right? I'm not worried about these guys trying to fight and do this other stuff. It'd be like, I would keep my main location and I keep doing exactly what we're doing where we are now. But for opening up like a second location, all the planning I do, I said, I spent the last 4 years kind of systemizing everything. Like I have like, come November, I will have every lesson planned out to the day for every one of my kids' programs for all of next year. I'll have the calendars already made up. I'll have everything planned out. I'll have everything scheduled. I'll know the days off. I'll know every single thing that's going to happen. So because I've already got all that planned, it's just as easy. I would keep the same exact thing going from one gym to the next to the gym. So when I open up a second location, it's going to follow the exact everything, the exact schedule, the exact curriculum, the exact lesson plan, the exact testing days, everything would be the exact same. I've already got all my gis and all that kind of stuff and all of our gear at our main place. It's easy to just get a couple extras and just send them and basically kind of manage inventory a little bit. So I'll kind of, I'll do that. So if I open up a second location, I'll do that. I think it will run very, very well. I think it will run very smooth. I think everything will go great. I have plenty of staff because, again, I talked about I have like 8 instructors on some of those classes, right? Well, when I set a second location, I'm not going to need 8 right away, but I'll be able to take a couple of those 8 and shift them and kind of make that work. So I have good bench strength. So if the second location does well, like I think it will, then, I'll probably start popping up a couple more. I'll probably have like maybe 4 or 5 gyms in the very close proximity within like probably 2 or 3 years, I think.
I love it. I mean, that is the beauty of systems, being able to replicate from one to the other.
I think part of the thing too is like I have like instructors that are very good instructors, and I pay all my instructors well, but like at some point, like they want to constantly keep making more money, right? Anyone does. Like I want to make more money all the time. Everyone wants to constantly be making, more and more money every year. So when I'm gonna come to a point where I can't really like, it doesn't make sense to pay these guys more and more money when they're just running like a couple kids classes. Whereas if I set up a second location, I have like 4 families that are all like, they're ready to take over like a school location for each of them. Like I could put like, okay, I'm going to put location A is going to be here. Location is going to be this. Location A is going to be this family. Location B is going to be this family. Location C is going to be this family. And they're just like, it's husband, wife combos or whatever. And like, I have the staff. I'm ready to go. I keep telling them like, give me 2 years. Give me 2 years. I'll have 5 or 6 of these things popped up all in the, very immediate location.
I love it. It's about growth, and it's also about contribution and being able to contribute to your supporters, the people that have helped you grow this, headquarters, and then
community.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Next up on the next level, what about the fight career? What can you tell us? We see the progression, the contribution, the growth on the academy end. What about the fight career?
So I don't know what's going on with my knee, and my ortho doesn't know what's going on with the knee, and the PTs don't know what's going on with it. Like I've had it MRI'd, I've had an X-ray, I had everything. They can't see anything physically wrong with it that would cause it to lock up, but it's definitely locking up. So I couldn't fight. It was supposed to be June 18th, a month and a half ago in Texas. Fight didn't happen. Got an MRI, got everything looked at. They can't tell what's going on with it. So it's locked up once since then, on a Saturday during MMA class, and locked up for like 30 minutes. And I did all the stuff I did for the first time, and I got it to unlock, and it was okay. But I'm like, what if that had been like 3 hours? What if it had been a day and a half again? Like, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm kind of figuring it out a little bit more, but I don't know what's causing it. I just kind of know how to deal with it a little bit better. But this is something I've dealt with for like, 12 years. It's, it's locked up on me. And like, I always thought it was meniscus stuff, and I had a whole bunch of surgeries on it to try and fix it. But now I don't think it was meniscus. I don't think the meniscus stuff was like the cause. I think meniscus was like kind of a symptom of it. So I don't really know. I do know that, I want to focus on the gym for the next, few months. So we'll kind of get back on track with all that stuff going. And then if I am going to fight again, it wouldn't be before like November, December. And if we do that, then if we fight again, cool. If we can figure out what's going on with my knee. If we can't figure out what's going on with my knee and it doesn't happen, and if I'm done fighting, I'm done fighting. I'm okay. Like I like the idea of like possibly fighting, because it kind of keeps me in the gym and keeps me like going to strength conditioning. It gets me, keep my weight down and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of nice having like, even if it does not necessarily gonna happen, it could happen. So I like that part of it. Just for me mentally, but I have no idea. I have no idea.
All right. Fair enough. So I always ask this question, hindsight's 2020. If you were to start all over again, what's one thing you would have done differently in regards to the academy, not the fight career?
I would have doubled down on systems way sooner. Like we did like it's so stupid to me now, but like we never tracked leads. Like someone fill out the form on the website. We'd email them one time, call them one time, and then that would be it. And we miss out on things all the time. We just didn't have systems in place for anything. We didn't have we ran like a kids No-Gi program, and we had we had no ranking for it for a long time. And then we did we do rash guards for the adults. So we did the kids rash guards, but then it was like you couldn't do stripes on the rash guards. You couldn't do that. So you get like a rash guard, you have that same rash guard for like 2 years. And then like we lose kids all the time. It just like it wasn't run well. So I mean, I think we just, kind of doubling down on systems and kind of making it work for us instead of like trying to scramble all the time. Like we do a lot more planning now. Like I said, we have I have all my lessons for the entire next year. I'll have them planned out by like say November. Just doing that. I was always like, oh, like what am I going to teach today? Like I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do an arm lock today or whatever. And now it's like, okay, like I know, okay, we're doing this thing on Monday, we're doing this thing on Wednesday, we're doing this thing next week, we're going to test on this month, and kind of everything's kind of all planned out.
I love it. Any additional nuggets of wisdom or insight that you would recommend giving to BJJ MMA school owners that, are really just looking to take their school to the next level?
So my coach is Joe Pomfret. Like he was my coach from day one. And one of the things he always said, which I always kind of took to heart, was he always say, stand on the shoulders of giants. Right. And like, to me, it's like, there's so many ways you can look at that. You can look at that like from a technique standpoint, like, oh, like I want to learn from people that have been there. I want to, see what's going on. But also like just finding a good mentor for everything. Like, before I'm part of the A team with you now. Chris has an awesome program for, we meet every 2 weeks and we talk about, different topics, and we kind of, I've been there for a while now. So we've started to cycle through things, but it's just like jiu-jitsu. It's like hitting the same topics. You get a little bit more out of it each time. But initially it was like Matt Arroyo was like probably my first mentor. Like, I didn't want to run like a watered down school. I wanted to run like a good school and produce professional fighters and good quality. And I didn't want to make like a belt factory or stuff like that. Like, like a lot of places do, like, oh, so-and-so has 7 schools. Yeah. But like, do they have 7 quality schools? Do they have 7 like crappy schools? But like Matt was like my first, like kind of like my first mentor, like just asking him advice on this and that. And then Matt was one that pushed me in your direction. I was asking about kid stuff. He's like, honestly, he's like, I don't know. My kids program doesn't do great. Like Chris has like dialed down on the kid stuff. So I signed up for Jiu-Jitsu University, and then, that made our kids program explode. And then I started like asking for more and more and more. Like, oh, well, that's part of the 18 thing. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'll join. I think it was probably the easiest sale you ever had. I'm like, I'm in. Like, like I had so much success from the Jiu-Jitsu University stuff that I'll be like, it's like I spent a little bit of money for the Jiu-Jitsu University stuff. It paid off like 100-fold right away. I'm like, why wouldn't I want to get a little bit more? And now like the A team is great. Honestly, like just being part of that Facebook group is amazing. Just having other people that are also like successful. It's because you have a great take on things, but sometimes it's like, okay, maybe Junior or someone else has like a great take on something. They deal with something like a little bit, maybe the culture of their gym's a little bit closer to mine. We just get a better take, or like Ron has good ideas sometimes, or whatever. Everyone's like just different personalities to kind of like
it's the beauty of the mastermind.
It's awesome. It helps so much. It's great. It's awesome. So I think that's the big thing is, find like a mentor or someone like right away. Like I have a couple of friends that have started schools in the last like 2 years or so. And like, I'm like, I want to help you out because I did things so wrong for so many years. I don't want you to make those same mistakes. I want to help you out. And then once you get to the point, I'm already trying to drag him in the 18. So
awesome. Well, yeah. Joe, thanks so much for taking the time and dropping your knowledge on us. If people, want to follow you, where's the best place? Facebook, Instagram? Where do you want to send them?
Depends. If you're talking me as like the fighter, it's just at Joe Lauzon on everything. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. If you want to see kind of what we're doing with our gym, it's Lauzon MMA, Lauzon MMA. We're on Facebook, on Instagram, TikTok. We got it going on everywhere. And like, I do think we do a really good job with all the organic content. Like,
awesome.
We're everywhere.
All right, guys, go follow them online. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.